So it's into August now in the market garden. I thought I'd do a bit of an update because this is pretty much where things are peaking now. Everything's kind of coming through and growing really well. And just give a little bit of an update on how the season's gone, some of the challenges, some of the successes, some of the crops that worked the best, some of the crops that haven't worked so well. So compared to earlier in the year, there's a big difference now with the field absolutely cranking full of veg. And apart from that, the big pumpkin patch, the veg patches, we've got the new chicken house in build as well, hopefully for their arrivals. And then at the back there is a nice weedy patch where the pigs were meant to go, but no pigs unfortunately. I think I'm going to have a little bit of a rant about organic certification at a later date. So the Honesty Box shop, the veg shack in the car park, and then also the area that's going to be turned into the forest garden, which has our little mini farm there with the scarecrow, which was local kids who made that. And then we've dug the first pond for the ducks, which are over in the corner, and also that flooded patch in the far corner is going to be the next pond, but you have to wait for it to drain before we can actually put a pond in there. This season's been a bit of a tale of two halves, I suppose. First half being pretty brutal. Summer just never really got going. We had a really cold, kind of dank, grey start, which we were probably 2 or 3 weeks behind where we could have been. But come July, the sun came out and we've had a load of sunshine and showers, which has been great for the veg and great for the weeds. It's been a bit of a mixed year for the pumpkins. We've got maybe about 450 plants in the ground, but you can see from the empty patches and the weed fabric here, we're actually meant to have a lot more. But when we first planted them in May, there was a big kind of die-off. We had a hailstorm, and then we had a load of slugs move in, and we've had a kind of a cold and damp year, so we're a little bit behind where we hope to be with the pumpkins. But thankfully they've had quite a spurt recently, so it looks like we're going to be all good for pumpkin picking season, and everything's starting to ripen up. We've also got a really nice range of pumpkins this year. Decided not just to go for the jack-o'-lanterns, the classics, but also to plant some bright white ones, some Caspers. We also planted some bright yellows, some hooligans, some knuckleheads, some warty ones, and some Atlantic giants as well. So looking good for the pumpkin picking. One of our best sellers this year has been our salad mix, the salad bag. So I'm just walking through where the lettuces are and the edible flowers, which we kind of mix in at this time of year. Midsummer just now, it's kind of heavily dominated by lettuce in the salad mix, with a bit of edible flowers like nasturtiums to give it kind of peppery kick. Earlier in the season we had a lot more spicy stuff mixed in. What I found is that midsummer, all of that stuff, it just wants to flower, it just wants to go to seed, so it's kind of difficult to get a nice mixture of that in. So it's been a wee bit of a challenge, but like I say, it's been a super popular part of the products that we've been offering at Narrowboat Farm this year. One thing that's helped massively this year with our Brassicas is this insect netting. Last year we had huge problems with cabbage white butterflies, so this year we've managed to get 2 blocks worth of this insect netting, and this is some of the winter broccoli starting to come through. We've already had loads and loads of Brassicas out of the summer patch, which is the patch in the distance there. In terms of the Brassicas, they take up quite a lot of space, and you know, they're maybe not one of the most efficient ones, but I don't know, when you get a really nice cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli out of the field, people really appreciate it. One of the things that hasn't gone so well from a business point of view is not being able to sell kale. So a lot of the Brassicas have just sold instantly, but the kale itself, you can see it, the stuff that's holding up the netting at the back there, which is all bolting now because we've just not really managed to sell much of it. Here's some that we've pulled out as well that is kind of bolted away. I think my theory on that is basically kale and chard and things like that. It's one of those ones that market gardeners, you get convinced to sell because it's easy to grow, it grows all year, per actual kind of hour of effort you put in, it's one of the most profitable. But on the flip side, that means everyone's doing it. And you know, when you have a glut of that, and it's not something that people turn to immediately for their first veg that they want, You know, they want their carrots, peas, tatties, beans, onions, that kind of thing. Kale and chard is a harder sell. This is the patch where we do a lot of the peas and beans. You can see the first bunch of peas that are kind of dying off now. And the broad beans here that are just coming to the end. They've still got some absolutely massive pods on them though. Maybe do a bit of seed saving, let them mature and use them for next year. Might plant them in the autumn to go through the winter. And then another succession of peas here which are going quite nicely. We've had some nice pudding peas off these ones. The polytunnel's been as productive as ever at Narrowboat Farm. Last year it was pretty much tomatoes we did in here, so we've got another 6 varieties of tomatoes on the go. We've had a bit of an experiment with peppers as well. So we've done a mild chili pepper, which, to be honest, I don't know what the point of a mild chili is. So we've got loads of them, and plants have been doing really well. Also got some really, really hot Ring of Fire chilies, which we're hoping to sell to a local lad who makes his own hot sauce. And also loads of cucumbers as well, which have been really prolific this year. We've done a little experiment with sweet peppers this year as well, which you can see we've got some fairly decent fruits, especially on the lower ones. It's not been a very sunny kind of summer, so there's a very good chance that these won't really come to much for this year in terms of ripening. But as I understand, as a perennial plant, what we can do is we can actually cut these back, put them in the greenhouse for the winter, keep them warm, and then plant them again in the spring to get a head start. So I thought rather than just brag about all the beautiful stuff at Narrowboat Farm, show you some of the ugly or wild, if you're optimistic, parts as well. So this is one of the veg plots from last year, and what we were going to do is we were going to get pigs in for this year to clear it out. But there was a bit of a complication that the Soil Association folk told us we weren't allowed to get the pigs because they'd been fed GM food within the past 6 months, which essentially all pigs are. So that's been a bit of a frustration, and we've kind of, apart from trimming this occasionally, we've kind of turned our backs on it, and it's just turned into a bit of a weedy hellhole. One of the most successful additions this year is the Honesty Box shop in our car park, which has really been doing fantastically. So we figured we'd like to try selling direct to customers as well as selling through shops and to restaurants. So we came up with turning this old site hut into what we call the Veg Shack. And like I say, it's been a really good success. You know, we didn't do much advertising because we were trying to weigh up in terms of how much time we had to harvest and how much space to sell, and trying to weigh all that up was quite tricky. So without really doing anything but social media, it's become really super busy. We're also dipping our toes into the world of CSA, Community Supported Agriculture, with our membership scheme. We're going to try this for a month, where people sign up for a veg box each week, and in return they get to come to certain events. So as part of our kind of community engagement type work, we did a farm club in the summer holidays, whereby we made this kind of miniature farm next to where the ducks are, complete with scarecrow and veg beds. And we got local kids to come and learn how to grow veggies and plant this up, which was a really nice way of linking in with the locals. My favourite addition to the farm has been these quackers. Got 17 ducks for eggs, and yesterday got our very first eggs, which was quite exciting. So we've got 7 Indian runner ducks and 10 khaki Campbell ducks as well. So we built a couple of ponds for them, made a couple of duck houses in this sheltered area. Super paranoid about mink coming along the canal to get them, so we've put a lot of effort into trying to protect them. As well as the market garden, the second half of the Narrowboat Farm project is to establish canal moorings on the bank here, where you can see we've got lots of visiting boats just now. There's about 7 boats that are here, and that's nearing fruition as well, which is really exciting. Just having a little look at the boats that are moored up just now at Narrowboat Farm, the distances they've come from. This is exactly what we're wanting. We want to create a busier canal, and we want to make a venue on the canal as well for visiting boats. Bring local people to the canal to enjoy the canal, and just make the whole thing a bit more successful. One of the nicest things about living on the boat is having the opportunity to move around, and whilst it's been a really busy season here at Narrowboat Farm, we've had to be here quite a lot. We've had our annual trip into Edinburgh, well at least annual, going through the countryside. It's really beautiful just to be able to go through these kind of quiet patches and then into the city and getting the usual sights and sounds and changes that you get as you move along the Union Canal.